What's going on, guys? So today's video is going to be a very interesting one. So as most of you know, I'm actually in the process of reviewing two vehicles. Now, depending on when you watch this specific video, you may be looking at, the Tundra, or you may be looking at the Armada, but they're not going to both be featured typically in the same video. So I'm doing separate reviews for all of them. In front of me, I have my wife's Ford Expedition. So this is a 2019 Ford Expedition Platinum. It has every conceivable feature aside from four-wheel drive. The Tundra is a 2022 Toyota Tundra 1794 edition with the 6.5-foot bed and the air ride suspension in four-wheel drive. The Armada over here is a 2022 Armada SL, which is their almost premium vehicle. It has pretty much every feature as a Platinum minus a few, but it is a two-wheel drive SUV, and this and my wife's are both full-size SUVs, as well as the Tundra being a full-size pickup truck. Today's video is going to be a very interesting one. I want you all, before we get into the intro, to try to figure out what the payload capacity ratings are on these three. First, my wife's Expedition, then we're going to go to the Nissan Armada, and then we'll finish it out with the Toyota Tundra. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Alright, so the point of today's video isn't to say one's better than the other, but it's to put some things in perspective, because I think right off the bat, most people would say, well, the Toyota Tundra being a pickup truck, and not just a pickup truck, being a full-size, very capable pickup truck, should have the higher payload capacity of the two. But is that going to necessarily hold true? Now, I know a lot of you will figure out that the Tundra has a feature that both of these do not have that will negatively impact its cargo capacity, and that's four-wheel drive. So a lot of people don't realize when you get four-wheel drive on a vehicle, it takes a significant chunk of your payload capacity out because the components and the weight of your four-wheel drive system are now deducted from the vehicle's cargo capacity, because all of these vehicles are going to have a gross vehicle weight rating, and everything in that gross vehicle weight rating, or basically the combined weight of the vehicle plus everything inside of it when it's fully loaded, is pretty much set. So if we got this Tundra in a work truck edition, it's going to weigh probably 500 to 700 pounds less, especially it being a two-wheel drive truck, and it's going to give you that capacity back in terms of cargo capacity. So, what did you guess my wife's 2019 Ford Expedition Platinum? Again, highest spec trim minus four-wheel drive. What do you think the cargo capacity is on this before we check the door sticker? All right, let's take a look at what the door sticker says, and if you're right. So door sticker on this shows a cargo capacity of 1,505 pounds. 1,505 pounds. I bet that's probably higher than what most people would have thought, especially it being a luxury trim vehicle. Oftentimes in an SUV, you would see those numbers in a more stripped down, maybe an XLT, but in a Platinum, that's where it's at. And the reason why is because this is not four-wheel drive. Had this been four-wheel drive, it probably would have been 200 to 300 pounds less, maybe even more than that. Next, we're going to go to the Nissan Armada. What do you guys think the cargo capacity on this Nissan Armada is going to be? And again, this isn't the highest trim Nissan Armada you can get. This is kind of an upper trim package. It's certainly a luxury package. It's the SL, but they do make a package slightly higher than this. Now, in terms of additional weight, it's not going to add much more weight because there really aren't a lot of features that you could add to this. This was a pretty decked out Armada. And I think the main thing this one doesn't have, like the Expedition, is four-wheel drive. So four-wheel drive would add a significant amount of weight. But what do you think the cargo capacity on this 2022 Nissan Armada SL Midnight Edition is? Let's take a look. 1,477 pounds. So it's roughly 25 pounds or lower in terms of cargo capacity than my wife's Ford Expedition. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's hard to say. What features could it potentially be missing that would add to that? Now, if you've seen the review of this vehicle I've done, the back has non-power folding seats. That could be part of it. There could be other little things. My wife has a panoramic sunroof, which certainly adds weight. This one has a traditional sunroof in it. My wife has the running boards that actually deploy out. This has standard fixed boards. So those are things that can add weight to my wife's vehicle, but at the same time, they're two completely different vehicles from two completely different manufacturers. So it's hard to say where they invested research into weight for the different components that make up the vehicle. But again, 1,400 and 77 pounds worth of cargo capacity. Is that higher or lower than you thought? Okay, so here it is, the last one. 2022 Toyota Tundra 1794 edition. This is a completely loaded truck. I honestly can't think of any features that you can get that this doesn't have. It has every conceivable feature you could probably imagine, from radar cruise control, all the LED lighting. It's got the four-wheel drive package, the air suspension in the back. It's got the deploying running boards. It's got even the back corner deploying running board. It's got the big thick rubber bed mat inside of it. Of course, it's got all leather interior. It's got the 14-inch screen. There's really nothing you could add to this vehicle that I can think of. Panoramic sunroof. It's got the tow mirrors that even extend out. It's completely loaded. And this is essentially the pinnacle of what you can get. And I hate to say this because this video isn't focused around price, but at $65,000, it's actually a bargain for what you're getting compared to a lot of the half-ton high-spec trucks that you're seeing on the market right now. But I digress. This truck, fully loaded, four-wheel drive. What do you think the cargo capacity is on here? Now, before you answer that question, the towing capacity on this truck is going to be about 2,500 pounds greater than the Armada and about 2,000 pounds greater than my wife's Expedition. So this can tow over 10,000 pounds. That's what the rating is. The cargo capacity, that's the question. Again, high-spec truck. What do you think the cargo capacity is on the door sticker of this truck? The heavy power deploying running boards. Nice carpeted floor mats, beautiful interior, again, panoramic sunroof, wood trimming, leather. I mean, this is just a very, very, very high-spec truck. But what do you think the cargo capacity is? Let's take a look. 1,320 pounds. 1,320 pounds. So the cargo capacity of this Tundra is actually about 157 pounds less than the cargo capacity of the Armada and about 180 pounds less than the cargo capacity of my wife's Expedition. So again, when you factor all three vehicles, you might think, well, why? Why is the cargo capacity lower on this? This is a pickup truck. It's got a 6.5-foot bed. It's got air suspension. It's got four-wheel drive. It's a half-ton truck. This thing is designed to tow. Well, I'm not saying you're wrong, but this is where you have to be very smart when you look at numbers. You can't just look at towing capacity. You have to look at cargo weight. You have to look at what you can load in there. Now I'm going to throw one other wild card in here, which is really going to blow you away. And that is HERMAN, the utility cart. HERMAN is what we named this DuraWorks utility cart that I've had for over 10 years, that I have absolutely abused, and we use it out here on the property like you wouldn't imagine. But HERMAN is your typical, I don't know where we got it, Home Depot, Sears, I'm not sure where we got it 10, 11 years ago when we got it, but it's your typical utility cart. And, you know, plastic on top of a steel frame, no suspension. It's got little rubber inflatable tires on it, right? What do you think the cargo capacity on HERMAN is? What do you think? Do you think that the cargo capacity on this could actually rival this or this? Now, I don't know if it's going to be that high, but I guarantee the number I'm about to show you here is going to blow you away when you compare it to this. And that cargo capacity number is 1,200 pounds. 1,200 pounds. So this cart is 120 pounds shy of matching the cargo capacity of this Toyota Tundra. Now again, this isn't just comparing something like this to a Tundra. So before all of you that are anti-Toyota or, you know, anti this specific truck start chiming in, I have seen many, many other brand high trim luxury trucks from GM, Ford, Ram that have a much lower number. And if you saw the video I did on the 2022 Ram Limited, that actually had like a 1,200 pound cargo capacity. It was actually lower than this and more in line with this cart right here. So a lot of people are going to say, well, what's the deal? Why is it set up that way? Why is a pickup truck, especially a full-size pickup truck, only able to carry roughly the load of a cart like this? Well, the answer to this is actually pretty easy. I'm not towing this down the road. I don't have other people's lives at stake whenever I use something like this. I don't need to have that huge margin of error when it comes to what could happen if I use this improperly. Yes, somebody could get hurt. There's a chance that something bad could happen, but it's unlikely to happen, and it's unlikely to impact anybody else. If you have a vehicle like this and you're loading it up with 1,500 pounds worth of stuff in the back, well, you can't just think about yourself, and you can't just think about your vehicle. You also have to think about what else is on the road, who else is around you. So the vehicle is designed to be able to carry more weight, but keep in mind that even if the weight rating is similar, does it mean it's safe to go over what the manufacturer claims this truck is capable of carrying? And I would venture to say no. The reason why is because, again, I can put a 10,000 pound rating on here, because if I load my mini excavator on top of this thing, it's going to crush it. Nobody's going to get hurt, except maybe me, and nothing bad is going to happen. So I can really put whatever rating I want on something like this. The engineers who design these vehicles have to take everything into account. What you could potentially do with the vehicle, what it's going to be used for, and they have to put a rating that best describes these vehicles in a scenario where you're actually using it over an interstate, over a highway, over off-road terrain. And that's how those numbers are also assigned based on how the vehicle's engineered. So just because you see something small and puny like this that can hold more weight doesn't necessarily mean that it could do that for any length of time over any type of condition. Because when we loaded this thing up with sod and it was, 3 feet above the edge, the tires were about popping, and I'm sure we didn't have any more than maybe 400 pounds worth of weight on it. So just because it can doesn't mean you should. Or just because they say it can doesn't mean you should. Anyways, the point of the video at the end of the day isn't to talk just about payload. It's to help you understand that even though a truck like this may have a relatively low payload rating, just like almost any other half-ton luxury truck, it's going to have a tow rating that's probably going to be much higher than you might think. This one's probably over 10,000 pounds. This right here is probably in the 7,000 pound range. My wife's vehicle is like in the mid 8,000 pound range. But why can this tow more but carry less? Again, it's designed from the factory by engineers to be able to kind of take advantage of both numbers. You can't just look at one number. You have to get a trailer, you have to tow things and be smart about it. A utility trailer where you can position the weight, you can keep a close eye on both weight and balance to make sure you're not transferring too much weight to the truck while it's still controllable and it doesn't have too tall of a wind profile. Well, again, that gives this truck a strategic towing advantage over something like this, even though the payload capacity on this might actually be higher. So again, just stuff to keep in mind. And everyone's wanting to know about Buddy. Here's Buddy. He's getting big. He's still probably the most adorable dog that I've ever seen. He eats just about everything, and he follows me around everywhere. So even if I don't feature him in a video, he's probably sitting right behind me chewing on something. Still training him, still learning. But he is a cute dog. Anyways, guys, sure hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.